Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a pretty interesting take on how we watch entertainment, specifically focusing on Avatar: The Last Airbender, a show lots of us really love.
Right.
And our source is a YouTube video from Monte Sensei called Stop Politicizing Entertainment. Avatar: The Last Airbender is just fun. Quite a title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And our mission really is to, dig into the viewpoint in that video, how it sees the way shows like Avatar are talked about now.
And it kicks off with a memorable analogy, doesn't it? This force-fed pizza thing, how does that work?
Right, the pizza analogy. So, okay, picture pizza, good stuff, right? Most people enjoy it.
Sure.
But the video says, imagine being made to eat it constantly, every meal, even when you don't want it. The point is this constant forcing, this feeling of it being pushed on you makes you start to dislike it, even pizza.
Right. Too much of a good thing, essentially.
Right.
Exactly. And that's how the video creator says they feel about, the constant demand to see everything, all entertainment, through a political lens. It suggests even something great can become, unpleasant if it's relentlessly analyzed that way.
That makes sense. It's a feeling of being overwhelmed. So the video then applies this to Avatar itself, arguing its original success wasn't about politics.
Yeah, precisely. The video argues that when Avatar first hit, its success, and it was a huge success, was down to just being really good.
Quality, basically.
Quality, yeah.
The
animation, the story.
Yeah.
And crucially, it had these incredibly strong, well-written female characters.
Okay.
And the argument is that this was genuinely, groundbreaking back then, but it wasn't constantly talked about through the same political filter we use now. It was just appreciated for the characters, for the plot, more naturally, maybe.
So the video mentions strong women across all the nations in the show, not just one and two.
Exactly. It stresses that.
Yeah.
It wasn't tokenism. You had powerful women leaders, fighters, strategists in the Fire Nation, Water Tribes, Earth Kingdom, everywhere. The video basically says Avatar changed the game for kids' shows regarding gender roles, way beyond just having a girl character. It acknowledges shows like Powerpuff Girls, Kim Possible.
Right, they were pushing boundaries too.
Yeah, but sees Avatar as a really big leap forward in how integrated and central those female characters were.
Okay, so that leads into the video's main concern about how Avatar is discussed today, right? What's the worry there?
Well, the core worry is that the current conversation, maybe even how shows like it are promoted now, focuses so heavily on, let's say, politically correct narratives that it risks pushing everything else aside. The fear is that this constant emphasis might actually turn people off. People who just want to enjoy the show for the adventure, the world building, the humor, without feeling like they're getting a lecture or being judged.
It even gets into tricky territory, asking if some modern activists are, quote, true fans. How does the video handle that?
Yeah, that's a sensitive point. It suggests maybe that for some people, the main interest isn't loving the show itself, but more about making it fit into certain political boxes.
Fitting the narrative.
Right. Like the agenda might be more important than the actual content. Now, obviously, you could argue that analyzing media critically is a way of engaging deeply.
Sure, for many people it is. It's complex.
It really is. It depends on the person. But the video raises that concern, is the focus shifting away from the art itself.
This reminds you of your own experience watching shows like Powerpuff Girls as a kid, doesn't it?
It really does. I loved Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. But why? Because it was fun. The action, the weird villains, Mojo Jojo.
Right, the humor.
Yeah. The fact they were girls was fine. It wasn't the reason I watched. It was just a cool cartoon with awesome characters who happened to be girls. I wasn't thinking about gender dynamics. I was thinking about giant monsters.
And the video takes that idea and sort of projects it forward, speculating how Powerpuff Girls might be marketed if it came out now.
Yeah, it does. And it paints a pretty cynical picture. It imagines marketing hammering the feminist icon angle, maybe suggesting Buttercup is, non-binary because she's tough.
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe Bubbles feeling guilty for liking girly things. And it worries about how a character like him, that incredibly strange, flamboyant villain, might be softened or changed completely.
Sanitized, maybe.
Yeah, sanitized is a good word. The video creator uses this phrase like, mayonnaise, I don't like it, to show this real distaste for that hypothetical, politically corrected marketing push.
It's expressing a fear that something essential would be lost.
Exactly. That fear of retroactively changing things to fit today's standards, potentially ruining what made them special.
Okay, let's circle back to Avatar specifically. The video praises how it handled its female characters, the idea being it was effective without being overly explicit about it.
That's the core of it, yeah. It wasn't just giving girls a seat at the table, as the video puts. It was putting them at the head of the table in so many areas.
Leaders, fighters.
Right. And they weren't just defined by who they were dating or supporting. They had their own power, their own goals. Even the villains like Azula, Mai, Ty Lee, they were complex, not just cardboard cutouts.
They had depth.
Loads of depth. And the video argues their strengths felt natural within that world, not like something highlighted with a big neon sign saying, look, female empowerment.
The video also mentions something about how romance, specifically heterosexual romance, is sometimes viewed negatively in modern discussion.
Yeah, it touches on that. There's a sense of frustration, like why does depicting a straightforward romance between a guy and a girl sometimes get analyzed with suspicion now?
As if it must be problematic somehow.
Kinda, yeah. It's inherently old-fashioned or arising from, I don't know, bitterness, as the video puts it. It's arguing for just letting relationships exist in stories without automatically slapping a political critique on them.
And the timing of Avatar's original run is seen as important too, right? Predating that big wave of very gender-focused media in the 2010s.
Right. The video suggests that because it came out before that major wave, its achievements in representation felt more earned, or at least they were celebrated more for just being good storytelling.
Less part of an explicit agenda, perhaps?
Yeah. It was just progressive because the writing was good and the characters were strong, not because it was trying to tick boxes for a specific discourse that was maybe less dominant then.
You can really feel the video creator's frustration with the constant need to analyze everything politically. What's at the heart of that feeling?
I think it's just a desire to enjoy things. You know, to watch a show or a movie as escapist, as fun, as art.
Without putting on the critic hat every single time.
Exactly. There's this feeling lamented in the video that everything has become like homework. You have to deconstruct it, analyze its gender politics, its representation metrics.
Instead of just getting lost in it.
Yeah. There's a longing for that simpler enjoyment, maybe, without you have to constantly check if it aligns perfectly with current social standards.
And to back this up, the video brings in other examples like Ripley from Aliens, Sarah Connor.
Right. Ripley, Vasquez, also from Aliens, Sarah Connor, Lara Croft, Beatrix Kiddo.
Strong female action heroes.
Totally. And the point is, people loved those characters because they were compelling. They were tough, resilient, well-acted.
Not just because they were women breaking stereotypes.
Exactly. Their gender was part of who they were, obviously, but their appeal was rooted in their character and their role in a great story. They were awesome characters first.
The Jurassic Park example fits here too, with the female computer expert.
Yeah, the hacker character, Lex's sister.
Yeah.
Ellie Sattler too, arguably. But focusing on the computer expert, the video recalls watching it and just thinking, wow, she's smart. She saved the day.
Her competence was key to the plot.
Right. The focus was on her skill and how it drove the tension, not primarily on, look, a woman succeeding in STEM. The video worries that today, the commentary might flip that, emphasizing the representation over the narrative function.
Which ties into the broader anxiety about modern marketing then.
Definitely. The worry is that marketing departments are now so focused on highlighting the correct political messages.
The virtue signaling, as some might call it.
Right. That it might actually be counterproductive. It could annoy audiences, or worse, pressure creators into making safer, less interesting choices just to fit the marketing narrative.
The video even critiques how some modern anime are received, doesn't it? Even ones with strong female characters.
Yeah, it mentions things like Demon Slayer or My Hero Academia. The argument is, these shows have strong female characters, really capable ones.
But still get criticized.
But still sometimes face criticism for not being progressive enough or for not meeting some specific standard.
Yeah.
The video sees this as a sort of never-ending demand, a moving target.
Which leads to that bottomless pit analogy for activists, right?
Yeah, the bottomless pit. It's a pretty blunt analogy, basically saying that trying to satisfy people who are only focused on political correctness and entertainment is impossible.
Like you can never pour enough water in.
Exactly.
Right.
The viewpoint presented is that no amount of representation or careful messaging will ever be sufficient for that specific critical end.
So, returning to Avatar for the wrap-up, the video emphasizes its original value as escapism.
Yeah, it circles back to that feeling that when Avatar first aired, it was just a great escape. Fantastic world, fun characters, cool bending, serious themes, handled well, but without feeling like you were being preached at or politically targeted.
Just pure entertainment in that view.
Pure and welcome escapism, yeah.
And that story about the potential new viewer who is hesitant, that really drives the point home.
It really does. The creator mentioned someone on a live stream saying they wanted to watch Avatar, but all the current online debate about it, the politicization, the worries about the live-action casting being PC, it made them pause.
Hesitant to even start because of the discourse around it.
Exactly, which perfectly illustrates the video's core argument. The way we talk about it now might actually be pushing people away.
And that includes worries about the live-action show itself, like Sokka's character potentially being changed.
Right. The specific worry mentioned is that Soka's humor, maybe some of his early awkwardness or slightly sexist comments that he grows out of.
His character arc.
Yeah, that part of his arc might get smoothed over or cut entirely because it wouldn't fly to. The concern is losing some of the original's charm and character development to modern sensitivity.
So what's the final piece of advice the video gives to potential new viewers?
It's very direct.
Yeah.
Basically. Forget the noise. Ignore the current debates. Just go watch the original cartoon series.
Experience it for yourself.
Yeah. See the quality, feel the adventure, meet the characters on their own terms before you get bogged down in how everyone else thinks you should see it.
Okay, so if we boil it all down, the main thrust of the video's argument.
It's really a plea, I think. A plea to let entertainment just be entertainment sometimes. To appreciate the craft, the story, the characters.
Without constantly running it through a political checklist.
Right. And that force-fed pizza thing really sticks, doesn't it? How overdoing the analysis, especially from one angle, can ruin the taste of something you'd otherwise love.
It definitely does stick. It really highlights that tension between, acknowledging social progress in media, which is important, and just letting yourself enjoy a good story.
Exactly. Which kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. Think about your own experience. Has the way people talk about a show or movie ever changed how you felt about it, for better or worse?
Where's that line for you, between appreciating representation or social commentary and just wanting to switch off and be entertained?
Yeah, something interesting to consider. Where does that balance lie for you? Anyway, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.